To select stretches for the warm-up, you need to aggregate your findings from your new client interview, from your flexibility assessment, and from your postural assessment to decide what you're going to stretch. Maybe somebody tells you that they sit all day at their office job. Well, does anybody have an office job anymore? Maybe they sit all day at their house doing their work at their computer. Or maybe they have some other occupational risk factors. Maybe they've got a very physical job, and maybe that job involves them being hunched over something all day long. Maybe they've had a previous injury. Maybe they had a surgery that restricted range of motion somewhere. Oftentimes you might see people who had previous knee injury who never regained their full flexion or never regained their full extension. And so you'll have to target your flexibility exercises towards those. When you do your flexibility assessment, you'll have found that there are either differences from left to right, or that people have scored lower than they should have for a particular range of motion. Those are some places that you want to target for your flexibility exercises. And then also with your postural assessment, we know that a lot of people spend lots of time sitting and hunched over their computer screens. So many times you'll have to target things like hip flexors because they're shortened, the trunk extensors, the erector spinae, because that's shortened. You'll have to target the pecs because those are shortened. You'll have to target the neck extensors and the upper trap because they're also shortened. Lots of people have this posture, right? So how are you going to target those? Maybe you do some foam rolling. You're going to do your foam rolling to target muscles that you know that you're going to want to lengthen. Okay, so maybe somebody has a forward head posture and they also have like some discomfort in their upper back. So you want to prescribe some maybe rolling with a lacrosse ball. And then also maybe they've got a tight hip flexors. And so you prescribe the myofascial release of the hip flexors to start. You go into your general cardiovascular warm-up, and then you're trying to decide, well, what should I focus on stretching? Well, you're going to aggregate those findings again. Did somebody tell you something in their new client interview? Oh, I never regained my full knee flexion. Boom, we're going to hit some knee flexion exercises to help improve knee flexion. Maybe they did really poorly on their shoulder rotation test. You can prescribe some PVC pipe pass-throughs so that they can improve their shoulder flexibility or shoulder mobility. Maybe you don't have that information, or maybe you just want to focus on the postural stuff. Like I said, we know that people are going to be like this, so you maybe want to do some pec stretches, right, to open up the pec, some doorway stretches or some corner stretches. Maybe you want to do some trap stretches, so stretch out the trap. I'm showing you static stretches, but you could also do dynamic and a warm-up. Hip flexor. We know lots of people have tight hip flexors. So some deep runner lunge would be good for some hip flexor. People usually have tight hamstrings, so some hamstring stretches would be good. Also, people have tight calves. Some downward dog to stretch those calves. People have tight back. Some child's pose to get that, to stretch that erector spinae. Again, these are static stretches, so you want to be probably a little bit more creative, using some dynamic stretches to get people ready for exercise. So sometimes you'll target your warm-up to help improve shortcomings in flexibility. Sometimes you'll want to target that warm-up specifically for an activity, or sometimes it's a combination of the both.